Good afternoon, graduates, friends and honoured guests. My name is Donald McEwen and I'm the chaplain to the university, and it's my pleasure to welcome you today to this graduation ceremony at the University of St Andrews on this exciting day for you. Presiding at today's graduation ceremony is the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dame Sally Mapstone. This ceremony is taking place in the Younger Hall, officially opened in 1929. The Younger Hall is the university's venue for graduations and most formal ceremonies. In a few moments, the academic procession will enter the hall. To welcome the academic procession, St Salvator's Chapel Choir will lead us in singing the Gaudy. Please do join in. The words can be found in your programme. Now, should the fire alarm sound, please remain seated. The alarm will be silenced and staff will immediately investigate the cause of the activation. Should an evacuation be necessary, the alarm will then sound continuously and you will be advised of the need to evacuate. Staff will direct you accordingly. Please follow staff direction and leave the hall by the most appropriate exit. At the end of the graduation ceremony, all our new graduates will join the academic procession, leaving the Younger Hall, walking along North Street, entering St Salvator's Quadrangle, across the PH and through the archway. To supporters, please wait until all our new graduates have left the hall. Ushers will then show you to the nearest exits. Outside, you will be directed to the quad where you will be able to join our new graduates. Please ensure your mobile phone is switched off or at least is on silent. You are welcome to take pictures and video footage, but please stay seated to do so. And now, to capture this unique moment, our official photographer will take a picture of those graduating today before the ceremony begins.
Good afternoon. Are we ready for this? What do you think of my camera? Super, isn't it? I can see everybody in the hall, so there's no hiding places. Are ready? Let's see what we've got. Good. And a couple more. Come on, smile. Super. Thank you very much. Congratulations and enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoy the graduation ceremony. As you are able, please rise for the Gaudiamus. Oremus. Omnipotens et aeterni Deus, actiones nostras omnes aspirando praeveni, et adjuvando prosequere, ut cuncta nostra operatio, et praesertim hoc quod nunc agredimur opus, a te incipiat et per te coetum finiatur. Quotenus sanctum nomen tuum glorificemus, et misericordia tua vitam aeternam consequamur, per Iesum Christum, Dominum nostrum. Amen.
Please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my happy duty as Principal and Vice-Chancellor to welcome you to this summer graduation ceremony at the University of St. Andrews. Graduation is the highlight of our academic year. At these ceremonies, students are awarded their degrees and people of distinction are honoured. We orient our academic calendar around these celebrations, and they are a tradition that speaks to the heart of our institutional mission. I am delighted that all of you can share in the joy of today's ceremony. Many of you who are graduating will have started your degree in 2021. You are the last of our COVID-era cohort. During your time here, you have needed to embody a greater degree of adaptability than any exercised by your recent forebears. But you have faced these challenges with aplomb, demonstrating fortitude as you endured restrictions and finding new ways to embrace long-held traditions. Though that legacy remains with you, the ritual and positivity of this graduation ceremony will help to take you further through it and into the next crucial stage of your life script. Today, we gather in the Younger Hall, a fitting setting for the celebration of our graduates' achievements. This well-loved venue has been the home of our graduation ceremonies since its initial opening in 1929. The Younger Hall has been extensively renovated in recent years. The refurbishment has revitalized this space for the next century of its existence, while ensuring that the entire building is fully accessible for all its users. The building's layout and decorations have been refreshed but are intrinsically unchanged, and the shape of the ceremonies remains the same. Today's graduands will cross the Younger Hall stage in a style that unites them with the students who for almost a century crossed it before them, and also, of course, with the students who crossed our stages in the 5 centuries before that. The broader graduation tradition which we observe today has indeed taken place at St. Andrews since the 2nd decade of the 15th century when the university was founded, and some of the rituals that were established in the 1400s remain an integral part of the ceremony. These rituals honour our history and signify the assumption of each graduand's place within an institution that has done as much as any other to shape our modern world. We are Scotland's first and foremost university, the 3rd oldest in the English-speaking world and one of the 25 oldest still operating. Across 612 years, students and academics have gathered here to build and disseminate knowledge, and their ambition has proven resilient to the challenges mounted against them. The religious and political regimes that have reared and crumbled, the pandemics and wars that have beaten at the doors. Ours is not, however, a story of survival, but of leadership. St. Andrews has been at the vanguard of political, cultural, and intellectual developments since our inception, and our people have steered the hands of monarchs and parliaments since our earliest days. And we are now very much focused on securing the future of our institution for the next 600 years. This is the aim of the university's Making Waves campaign, launched at the beginning of this academic year, and about which you can find out more in your copy of today's programme. Universities are, by their nature, institutions of forward progress, and we perennially look to the future so that our research and our graduates serve the world with maximum effect. But so too do we cherish our history, which chronicles how similar our activities are in many respects to the time of our foundation, and which also reveals the ways in which our teaching and activities have adapted to ensure that our university is not subservient to history, but instead creates it. Students of 15th century St. Andrews learnt primarily through lengthy orations delivered by their masters and instructors, often in the teacher's private residence, as part of a curriculum focused on logic, metaphysics, and ethics, all inspired by Aristotle. Speaking in the vernacular was forbidden, and teaching and conversation alike were conducted in Latin, which remained our official institutional language until 1747. Examinations took the form of a verbal interrogation by one's professors, and discourse could become so heated that students were known, on occasion, to descend into violence. Football and, astonishingly, golf were both banned in 15th century St. Andrews as they were deemed too distracting. But archery, an important skill for the defence of the realm, was promoted. This may have occasioned second thoughts in 1470, when, after an unresolved argument, the dean and members of the faculty were set upon by students with bows and arrows. Accounts show that in the 1540s, over a century after our foundation, student life in St. Andrews did evidence something more of the asceticism of the university founded within a religious capital. Students were awoken at 5 a.m., attended Mass at 6, started class at 7 with a lesson selected by the principal, and continued to learn until well into the evenings. Football was still banned, as now were, it will surprise no one, weapons, and the college strictly prohibited beards and certain groovy fashions. Women were also strictly forbidden, lest they, like football, should prove too distracting, with the exception of a single laundress, and that on the condition that she was over 50 years old. The severity of student life lessened in the 2 centuries that followed, and an increasingly modernized curriculum was enjoyed by some of the foremost luminaries of the time. Adam Ferguson, a renowned Enlightenment philosopher, graduated in 1742. James Wilson, a founding father of the United States, studied here from 1757 to 1761. And 2 eminent 18th century figures were awarded the degree of MD, or Doctor of Medicine, by the university. The French revolutionary Jean-Paul Marat in 1775, and in 1792, Edward Jenner, whose advancements in the prevention of smallpox pioneered modern immunology. Nonetheless, and despite these highlights, the 18th century was not a period of growth in the university's history, with St. Andrews being described by one contemporary alumnus as a healthy, retired spot. Consequently, as the 1800s approached, pressure for organisational and curricular reform was mounting. Governmental reform, by way of the University Scotland Act of 1858, introduced the organisational structures which remain mostly intact to this day. Women were admitted to full-time study in 1892, although St. Andrews had enabled them to study remotely, but not to graduate, for 20 years prior through its establishment of the Lady Literate in Arts programme in 1872. By the 1900s, student life resembled many of our current graduates' experiences. One of the most memorable examples of this was the university's quincentenary celebrations of September 1911. Planning for the anniversary took 3 years and required the erection of a temporary venue to accommodate 3,500 guests. Garden parties spread across the town, representatives of 145 universities and learned societies visited, 100 honorary degrees were bestowed, and the town came to life with song and celebration. The Younger Hall was a happy outcome of these celebrations. It was built with a lead donation by Dr. James and Mrs. Annie Younger, members of the local St Andrews community, who provided £100,000 for the purchase of the site and the building's construction, around £9 million in current terms. And it was opened by Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, in June 1929. Its construction was, however, also supported by funds raised on an early subscription model in honour of the 1911 celebrations, and by which means contemporary alumni laid the foundation of a building that would be enjoyed by so many of their successors. It is their foresight to which the splendour of our current and recently enhanced surroundings is owed, and which our graduates will honour by leaving this hall and using their education to change the world for the better, as so many have done before them. Returning now to today's ceremony and the rituals which connect us to our forebears. The first of these you have already witnessed when St Salvator's Chapel Choir initiated proceedings with a rendition of the Gaudy, and the university chaplain, the Reverend Dr. Donald McEwen, delivered the opening prayer. As Vice-Chancellor, I preside over these ceremonies and am invested with the authority to award degrees, the presentation of which will immediately follow this introduction. The conferral of awards at bachelor's, master's, and doctoral level will constitute the core of this ceremony. I will confer degrees both on those many students who are present and on the smaller number of those who are unable to attend and who have thus graduated in absentia. As that phrase indicates, these rituals are conducted partly in Latin, following St Andrew's tradition. For all graduands listed in this ceremony, present or absent, I will call upon the deans of the respective faculties and ask them to present each graduand for their award in turn. And I will then confer the degree with Latin phrases, one of which, for example, translates as, "I raise you to the rank of Master of Arts, and to symbolize this, I place upon you this cap." To most, though, I will simply say, "Et super te," meaning, "and upon you too." The precise moment of graduation occurs when the graduate's cap, or birrettum, which I will be utilizing, touches the head of the graduand. This academic cap has been used in every ceremony since December 1696, when it was acquired from a St Andrew's tailor, and it symbolizes the ascension of our graduands into graduates and their assumption of an equal place within our alumni community. When the conferrals are complete, St Salvator's Chapel Choir will return to deliver a musical interlude, and we are thankful both to the choir and their director, Claire Innes-Hopkins, for the felicity they bring to this occasion. We will then proceed directly to one of the highlights of these ceremonies, the presentation of honorary awards, with the conferral of an honorary doctorate upon today's guest of honor, Dr. Eugene Koonin. To close our ceremony, it is tradition to invite a member of the university to address our new graduates, wish them well as they progress to the next stages of their lives, and offer some final words of inspiration and congratulation. Today's guest speaker is Dr. Catherine Eagleton, the University Librarian and Director of Collections and Museums. The ceremony will then conclude with the benediction and the graduation procession. At St Andrews, the academics and professional staff who have supported you, our graduands, are immensely proud of your accomplishments. But this ritual does not mark the end of your association with St Andrews. You are joining a vital community of alumni who have positively shaped the world around them for 612 years and who support one another in the present. So while you are graduating, you are not leaving our community, but taking the next step in your St Andrews experience. And it is our sincere hope that you will continue to engage as a St Andrean throughout your life. Decanus Facultatis Artium.
Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to confer the degree of Master of Arts General in absentia on Caitlin Sullivan.
Eam absentem magistrum artium renuncio.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present for the degree of Master of Arts with honors, Lucy Alibest.
Te ad gradum magistri artium promovio, cuius rei in symbolum super te hoc beretum impono.
Imogen Blaine.
Et super te.
Callum Butler.
Et super te.
William Kane.
Et super te.
Samuel Chu.
Et super te.
Grace Colangelo.
Et super te.
Emma Croft Smith.
Et super te.
George Elliott.
Et super te.
Abigail Fazil.
Et super te.
Callum Friel.
Et super te.
Lara Geierhaas.
Et super te.
Duncan Graham.
Et super te.
Ella Gandes.
Et super te.
Lorenzo Magnaca Sancho.
Et super te.
Catherine Marlowe.
Et super te.
Mari McBride.
Et super te.
Sam Moorhouse.
Et super te.
Nicole Mundy.
Et super te.
Lauren Percy.
Et super te.
Amy Robbins.
Et super te.
Isabella Rubio.
Et super te.
Sylvia Rutherford.
Et super te.
Ewan Stokes.
Et super te.
Varvara Sichova.
Et super te.
Caroline Daly.
Et super te.
Imogen Davis.
Et Superte.
Kennedy Kirsten.
Et Superte.
Paige Lamont.
Et Superte.
Lauren Pigeon.
Et Superte.
Samuel Richter.
Et Superte.
Jenna McLennan.
Et Superte.
Maria Polisi.
Et Superte.
Gabriella Lucchetti.
Et Superte.
Alexander Sparks.
Et Superte.
Sean Smith.
Et Superte.
Nicholas Olchi.
Et Superte.
Gabriel Baker.
Et Superte.
Selma Bistran-Straumitz.
Et Superte.
Kelsey Cairns.
Et Superte.
Bridget Contreras Ridlington.
Et Superte.
Tegan Ferry.
Et Superte.
Emma Fiddler.
Et Superte.
Seth Fletcher.
Et Superte.
Mirabel Gallagher.
Et Superte.
Lucas Kavalich.
Et Superte.
Catherine Nisley.
Et Superte.
Archie McCusker.
Et Superte.
Matthew McHugh.
Et Superte.
Jonathan McIntyre.
Et Superte.
Matthew Mendes.
Et Superte.
Lachlan Rowley.
Et Superte.
Theodore Ryan.
Et Superte.
James Sherville.
Et Superte.
Theodore Sims.
Et Superte.
Finian Smith.
Et Superte.
Heather Tasker.
Et Superte.
Arjun Varanasi.
Et Superte.
Alp Yilmaz.
Et Superte.
Karen Zana.
Et Superte.
Scott Brown III.
Et Superte.
Talia Porter. Alexis Keys.
Et Superte.
Madeleine Kennedy.
Et Superte.
Niamh McGanagal.
Et Superte.
Ansel Shang.
Et Superte.
Oliver Biggs.
Et Superte.
Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to confer the degree in absentia on Lok Young.
Eum absenta magistrum artium renuncio.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present for the degree of Master of Letters, Jacobus Maximilian Freiherr Reitz von Frenz.
Te ad gradum magistri litterarum promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono.
Clarissa Miller.
Et Superte.
Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to confer the degree in absentia on Elizabeth Beatty Solomon.
Eum absenta magistrum litterarum renuncio.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for a thesis entitled Scottish Military Involvement in the Dutch Revolt, circa 1570 to 1609, Jack Abernethy.
Te ad gradum doctoris philosophiae promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono. Many congratulations. Well done.
For a thesis entitled The Fire Blight Menace, Knowledge Communities and Their Response to Crop Disease in the Anglo World, 1880 to 1939, Catherine Bruce.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Catherine.
For a thesis entitled Christian Identity in the Works of Bede, Jessica Collett.
Et Superte. Well done, Jessica.
For a thesis entitled News in the North, Newspapers and Other Print News Media in the 17th Century Baltic Sea Region, Barnaby Cullen.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Valerie.
For a thesis entitled Ecclesiastical Property in the Novels of Justinian, Cinnamon Ducasse.
Et Superte. Many congratulations. Well done.
For a thesis entitled Intellectual Exchange and the Reception of Classical Literature at Early Medieval Fulda, Matthew Edholm.
Et Superte. Congratulations. Well done.
For a thesis entitled Travelers to Dictatorship, the subjective lived experiences of British travelers to the Spanish Franco dictatorship and the Portuguese Estado Novo, circa 1950 to 1975, James Howe.
Et Superte. Congratulations, well done.
For a thesis entitled British Arguments in Favor of American Independence, the Patriotic Anti-Imperialism of Josiah Tucker, Thomas Todd, and James Anderson, Jason Isbit.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Jason.
For a thesis entitled Russophones and the Estonian State, 1991 to 2004, Samuel Kramer.
Et superte. Congratulations, Samuel.
For a thesis entitled I cavalli del comune, l'assignatio e quorum a Perugia nella seconda metà del XIII secolo tra gestione amministrativa e mascalcia, Irina Mattioli.
Et superte. Congratulations.
For a thesis entitled Family, Identity and Networking, European Encounters in Polish Female Travel Writing, 1770s to the 1820s, Agata Piotrowska.
Et superte. Congratulations, well done.
For a thesis entitled The Book of the Disabled Courtier, Neurodiverse Court Fools and Bodily Diverse Court Wonders at the English Tudor, Scottish Stuart and British Stuart Royal Courts, 1485 to 1649, Jessica Sedgmissoy-Urquhart.
Et superte. Congratulations, Jessica, well done.
For a thesis entitled Specimens of Settler Colonialism, Collecting and Displaying Natural History at the University of St. Andrews, 1838 to 1917, Connell Treen.
Et superte.
For a thesis entitled The Dublin Press and the French Revolution, 1788 to 1794, Maria Zukos.
Et superte. Congratulations, well done.
Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to confer the degree in absentia on Lasse Einarsson, Christopher Davis, Zachary Einarsson.
Eos absentes doctores philosophiae renuncio. Decanus Facultatis Scientiae.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Bachelor of Science General, Matthew Miller.
Te ad gradum baccalaureae scientiae promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Bachelor of Science with Honours, Jesse Hawkes.
Te ad gradum baccalaureae scientiae promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono.
Catherine Nichols.
Et superte.
Aaron Barnes.
Et superte.
Lillian Bates.
Et superte.
Dylan Bricknell.
Et superte.
Katie Cahill.
Et superte.
Adam Charlton.
Et superte.
Electa Clark.
Et superte.
Thomas Coates.
Et superte.
Katie Cudahy.
Et superte.
Isabel Cunningham.
Et superte.
Ailey Fraser Medcalf.
Et Superte.
Eileen Garland Nunez.
Et Superte.
Joanna Magnuson.
Et Superte.
Veronica Misacek.
Et Superte.
Emily Peace.
Et Superte.
William Perkins.
Et Superte.
Joshua Philpott.
Et Superte.
Isabel Raffelin.
Et Superte.
Mildred Tubaile.
Et Superte.
Holly Ward.
Et Superte.
Valia Bucilli.
Et Superte.
Clara Chen.
Et Superte.
Anna Kotel.
Et Superte.
Jess Darley.
Et Superte.
Juliana Di Napoli.
Et Superte.
Alia Zera Fado.
Et Superte.
Emily Gibson.
Et Superte.
Rachel Hall.
Et Superte.
Matilda Hamer.
Et Superte.
Teddy Henderson.
Et Superte.
Sarah Hophius.
Et Superte.
Altai Huynh.
Et Superte.
Hannah Jamil.
Et Superte.
Minara Jayachandran.
Et Superte.
Amy Kerslake.
Et Superte.
Komen Lau.
Et Superte.
Grace Mellon.
Et Superte.
Shanali Matthias.
Et Superte.
Kirsty Noble.
Et Superte.
Shu Ching Pong.
Et Superte.
Abigail Potts.
Et Superte.
Lottie Rolfe.
Et Superte.
Alison Russell.
Et Superte.
Anoki Saha.
Et Superte.
Keegan Shemaitis.
Et Superte.
Lydia Snape.
Et Superte.
Rivers Tar.
Et Superte.
Caitlin Tennant.
Et Superte.
Madeline Toomey.
Et Superte.
Lavinia Van Dyke.
Et Superte.
Ali Veach.
Et Superte.
Kelly Ann Perez.
Et Superte.
Victoria Schroeder Fink.
Et Superte.
Nicole Tan.
Et Superte.
Ava Harden.
Et Superte.
Cameron Choi.
Et Superte.
Nauki Martin.
Et Superte.
Finley Rutter.
Et Superte.
Jessica Thompson.
Et Superte.
Rebecca Long.
Et Superte.
Courtney Russell.
Et Superte.
Alison Hardy.
Et Superte.
Kristen Lage.
Et Superte.
Leo Elliott.
Et Superte.
Fifulwa Owabi.
Et Superte.
Seema Machaka.
Et Superte.
Martha Webb.
Et Superte.
Nadia O'Hara.
Et Superte.
Adea Byra.
Et Superte.
Emma Carrington.
Et Superte.
Eloise Hampton.
Et Superte.
Lily Liggins.
Et Superte.
Grace Renoff Belinsky.
Et Superte.
Alicia Barnes.
Et Superte.
Tom Beckett.
Et Superte.
Isabel Bowler.
Et Superte.
Emma Ferry.
Et Superte.
Eve Handy.
Et Superte.
Hannah Hughes.
Et Superte.
Naomi Smith.
Et Superte.
Michael Ko Ka Him.
Et Superte.
Lisa Capo Bianco.
Et Superte.
Madeline Doran.
Et Superte.
Aoife Goodson.
Et Superte.
Audrey Goldfield.
Et Superte.
Felix Hunter.
Et Superte.
Erin Kaiser.
Et Superte.
Johnny Miller.
Et Superte.
Caitlin Sheridan.
Et Superte.
Anna Badora.
Et Superte.
Tegan Kearney.
Et Superte.
Neve Carlisle.
Et Superte.
Varvara Mieszkova.
Et Superte.
Hannah Schroeder.
Et Superte.
Maya Slater.
Et Superte.
Zoe Henderson.
Et Superte.
Kelsey Hunt.
Et Superte.
Phoebe Rickard.
Et Superte.
Daisy Ross.
Et Superte.
Mariah Vadra.
Et Superte.
Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to confer the degree in absentia on Georgina Matson.
Eam absentem baccalaureum scientiae renuncio.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Master in Biochemistry with honours, Rosie Berners-Lee.
Te ad gradum magistri in biochemia promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono.
Laura Bevan.
Et Superte.
Arthur Bourdieu.
Et Superte.
Andrew Linz.
Et Superte.
Jamie McLeod.
Et Superte.
Harriet Myrtle.
Et Superte.
Ali Watts.
Et Superte.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Master in Biology with honours, Adam Deverill.
Te ad gradum magistri in biologia promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono.
Liam Hooper.
Et super te.
Jujana Reves.
Et super te.
Cole Reynolds.
Et super te.
Kyle Strachan.
Et super te.
Katarina Wong.
Et super te.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Master in Marine Biology with Honours, Tuums Ekmanis.
Te ad gradum magistri in biologia marina promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono.
Elrond Garcia.
Et super te.
Jamie Henderson.
Et super te.
Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to confer the degree in absentia on Boyd Dunster.
Eum absentum magistrum in biologia marina renuncio.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Master of Science, Faith Ehebame Emmanuel Soye.
Te ad gradum magistri scientiae promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono.
Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to confer the degree in absentia on Symbiat Adi Toro, Juby Jacob, Zephania Malambela, Frederick Osei, Wanda Seka.
Eos absentes magistros scientiae renuncio.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Master of Science by Research, Grace Brady.
Te ad gradum magistri scientiae promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono.
Rose Murdoch.
Et super te.
Alison Puckett.
Et super te.
Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to confer the degree in absentia on Kayla Cannon, Alana Carroll, Alex McCormack, Samuel Nearink, Jay Nevin.
Eos absentes magistros scientiae renuncio.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for a thesis entitled Biochemical and Microscopical Investigation of Heavy Metal-Associated Isoprenylated Plant Protein 7 as a Component and Regulator of Plasmodesmata. Zoe Barr.
Te ad gradum doctoris philosophiae promovio, cuius rei in symbolum superte hoc beretum impono. And many congratulations.
For a thesis entitled The Role of Nucleosome Binding by Human Cytomegalovirus Proteins IE1 and PP65 in Lytic and Latent Infection, Jason Corbett.
Et super te. Congratulations, Jason. Well done.
For a thesis entitled Parahox Genes in Chordate Evolution and Development, Anastasia Ellis.
Et super te. Very well done. Well done.
For a thesis entitled Biodiversity Change in Neotropical Freshwater Systems, Ada Fontrudona Eslava.
Et super te.
For a thesis entitled Mechanisms of Cyclo-Oligonucleotide-Based Antiphage Signaling Systems in Prokaryotic Immunity, Laura Gaskill-Mew.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Laura.
For a thesis entitled The Impacts of Fishing on the Foraging Behaviour of African Penguins, Jacqueline Glencross.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Jacqueline.
For a thesis entitled Biochemical Characterization and Essentiality of Proteins Involved in Myoinositol Metabolism and Trypanosoma cruzi. From Trypanosoma cruzi. Veronica Harris.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Veronica.
For a thesis entitled Behavioral Adaptations of Beaked Whales, Lee Hickmott.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Lee. Well done.
For a thesis entitled Vocal Learning in Bottlenose Dolphins, Tursiops truncatus, Effect, Control and Discrimination, Thomas Jenks.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Thomas.
For a thesis entitled Detecting Viability Selection in Natural Populations, Vivian Litsky.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Vivian.
For a thesis entitled Mechanisms and Genetics of Winter Dormancy in Raspberry, Rubus idaeus, Brezo Mateos.
Et Superte. Many congratulations.
For a thesis entitled Characterizing a Cyclodipeptide Synthase from Porphyromonius gingivalis, Charlene Ogilvie.
Et Superte. Many congratulations. Well done.
For a thesis entitled Applications of Next Generation Sequencing Towards Identifying Novel Disease Resistance Genes, Murray Smith.
Et Superte. Congratulations, Maury.
For a thesis entitled Bacterial Chemical Harpoons, How Do Tie Proteins Function, Grant Watt.
Et Superte. That's all right. You're okay. Congratulations, girl.
For a thesis entitled Biochemical and Biological Characterization of GHJ clan enzymes from Halorchia, Anna Zolotaryov.
Et Superte. Well done, Anna. Well done.
Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to confer the degree in absentia on Izzy Langley.
Eam absentem doctorum philosophiae renuncio.
Conferral For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities, forget about your worries and your strife.
I mean the bare necessities of Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life.
Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home.
The bees are buzzing in the trees to make some honey just for me.
But you look under the rocks and plants and take a glance at the fancy ants.
And maybe try your food. The bare necessities of life will come to you.
For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities, forget about your worries and your strife.
I mean the bare necessities, that's why I beg and rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life.
When you pick a rope or prickly pear, and you pick a rope, next time beware.
Don't pick the prickly pear, my boy, when you pick a pear, try to use the claw.
But you don't need to use the claw when you pick a pear of the big purple.
I'm giving you a clue. The bare necessities of life will come to you.
So just try to relax in my backyard. If you act like a bee, you're working too hard.
Don't spend your time just looking around for something you want that can be found.
If you find out you can live without it and go along, not thinking about it.
Tell me something true. The bare necessities.
Bare
The
necessities,
bare necessities.
bare necessities, bare necessities will come to you. Yeah!
I call upon Professor Malcolm White of the School of Biology.
Vice-Chancellor, it is my privilege to present for the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, Dr. Eugene Koonin. Born in Moscow in 1956, Eugene Koonin displayed a passion for biology from his early years. His mother worked in a library, which gave him access to the latest scientific literature. At the tender age of 14, he was inspired by the work of Nobel laureate Linus Pauling on protein evolution and the concept of the molecular clock. Enrolling in Moscow State University, Koonin was attracted to the new field of virology, completing his PhD on viral RNA replication in 1983, and taking up a position in the USSR Academy of Medical Sciences, where he became increasingly interested in the field of molecular evolution, which was being revolutionized by the ability to sequence DNA. Eugene became aware of a new center for computational biology known as the National Center for Biotechnology Information, or NCBI, in Bethesda, Maryland. He secured a position there and moved with his family to the USA in 1991, just prior to the dissolution of the Soviet Union. It was an auspicious time to arrive at NCBI. Within 5 years, the first complete genome sequences were being published, providing a rich data set for the nascent discipline of comparative genomics. And as an early proponent, he developed crucial tools such as the COG database, which helped tremendously to make sense of the alphabet spaghetti of raw genomic data. And it's fitting that the ceremony brings together graduates in biology and history, as Eugene Koonin leveraged his encyclopedic knowledge of biology and evolution to interpret vast genomic data sets and address questions as fundamental as the nature of the last universal cellular ancestor and the origins of life on this planet. In recent years, his insights have been instrumental in our understanding of CRISPR, an antiviral defense mechanism that is revolutionizing our ability to rewrite the genomes of any living thing. In a sense, to revise our genetic history and correct mistakes. Such power brings huge responsibility, and it raises fundamental ethical issues. But the potential to resolve once incurable genetic conditions is already being realized. Eugene Koonin views science as an intrinsic mode of experiencing the world, stating that as a way of living that is infinitely more interesting than anything else I can think of. As one of our foremost evolutionary biologists, he makes the bold suggestion that Dobzhansky's famous motto can be generalized to nothing in the world makes sense, except in the light of evolution. Koonin has published over 500 research papers, several books, and his work has been cited in close to 300,000 other academic publications, making him one of the most influential researchers in the field of molecular biology. Also, I may add from personal experience, he's one of the most generous, taking genuine delight in the discoveries of others. Among many honors, Eugene Koonin was elected to the USA National Academy of Sciences in 2016 and the National Academy of Medicine in 2022. Notably, he resigned from the Russian Academy of Sciences in response to the invasion of Ukraine. And this year, he's a signatory of a letter protesting the unprecedented government overreach and political interference currently underway in the USA. The parallels, he notes, are surreal. Vice-Chancellor, in recognition of his outstanding contributions and leadership in science, I invite you to confer the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa on Dr. Eugene Koonin.
Te ad gradum doctoris scientiae honoris causa promovio, cuius rei in symbolum supete hoc beretum impono. Congratulations.
Dear Dame Sally, dear Malcolm, dear fellow graduates, dear all, it's a huge honor and enormous pleasure to receive this honorary degree from this august institution. And dear fellow graduates, once again I congratulate you all. I could have stopped here, but I will say another sentence. This beautiful ceremony is taking place at a very difficult, disturbing time. And one of these most disturbing developments that touches all of us is the unprecedented, relentless attack on fundamental science that is happening in my own country, the United States of America. And therefore, at this difficult time, the significance of this recognition is higher than ever. Thank you very much all once again.
I call upon the University Librarian and Director of Collections and Museums, Dr. Catherine Eagleton.
Vice-Chancellor, special guests, colleagues and graduates, it's an honour to speak to you today as we come together to appreciate and celebrate all that you've done to be here, and also all that family and friends and colleagues along the way have done to help you. I'm very proud to be your university librarian, which is a role that has existed at St Andrews since the 1640s. I'm even more proud to be the first woman to hold this role. But do not be fooled. 5 years ago, I couldn't have imagined I would be doing this job and standing here addressing you today as you celebrate your achievements. Rewinding the clock further to when I was where you are today, graduating with my PhD, at that point I knew what the plan for the next year was, but I had no idea what might happen after that. Lives and careers look much clearer in hindsight than they do at times of change like this one. But however certain or uncertain you are about what comes next, I hope you embrace it with curiosity. And that theme of curiosity links the schools of biology and history here today with our university's libraries and museums. One of my predecessors as university librarian in the 1700s would have known well the King James Library. In his library, there was a collection of objects displayed alongside the books to encourage curiosity about the world. In the 1800s, those objects joined many thousands of others to create the first university museum in what is today Upper College Hall. That museum soon ran out of space, though, and work on the collections sometimes had to be done outside. There's an amazing photograph in our university collections of a large Cape aardvark being prepared for taxidermy by one of the janitors just outside the United College buildings, which would have been a curious sight. And I should note at this point for your reassurance, or for some among you to give notice of a possible disappointment, our grounds team have confirmed there are no aardvarks, or indeed any other taxidermy, in the quad for our procession after the ceremony today. The museum and its collections moved in the early 1900s to the Bell Pettigrew Museum. At the time of the move, the curator of the museum was worried that its new location in the Butte building was so far away that visitors would be discouraged. But I hope you've been undeterred and have visited while in St Andrews. That new museum was established thanks to a generous gift by Elsie Bell Pettigrew and named after her husband, Professor James Bell Pettigrew. He was an anatomist who, among other things, was fascinated by how animals move and birds fly. His curiosity led him to build artificial wings and to build and test a petrol-powered flying machine in 1903. That test flight didn't end well, though, and after flying about 20 metres down a St Andrews street, the ornithopter crash-landed, breaking both the machine and Professor Bell Pettigrew's femur. In encouraging you to stay curious, I do, of course, hope that doesn't involve a trip to Ninewells Hospital or any broken bones, but I hope you embrace the spirit of optimism and determination that Professor Bell Pettigrew had. Keep asking questions and exploring and learning. Curiosity is what's brought you here, and it's what will carry you forwards, even if there are challenges or twists and turns along the way. So build your own flying machine, even if it doesn't take off straight away. Congratulations again, class of 2025.
If you are able, please stand for the benediction.
Oremus. Gratia Domini nostri Iesu Christi, et caritas Dei, et communicatio Spiritus Sancti sit cum omnibus nobis, in saecula saeculorum. Amen.